Why is leadership development important for national prosperity? Welcome to Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. And that's what we're going to be talking about with Giovanni Brown.
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives.
Who is Giovanni Brown? So for those of you who are not from Jamaica or affiliated with NCU in any way, he is the current USM president. That's the United Student Movement president, and that is the student government organization. Welcome, Giovanni.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Daly. It's my pleasure to be here.
So, giving you a context, so he's then a student leader, and I'm sure this is not just your first time being a student leader.
No,
I kind of sense that. Were you also a student leader at the high school level as well?
I was.
And you were?
I served as a prefect,
Okay.
sub-prefect and also a prefect in high school.
Okay. And I'm sure also in church, you've also been a leader as well?
Yeah, for sure. I've served as the music director for a certain period of time. I've been deacon there. So, yeah, when I go to things like camp, they elect me to be the camp president, that kind of a thing.
Okay.
I think persons, I don't know. I don't know if it's my personality or my energy, but people they just tend to just ask me to lead them.
They have faith in you.
Yeah, and I also kind of care about people very naturally, so I think people feel that.
Okay. I'm saying all of this so you have a context in terms of why it is that he's qualified or competent enough to speak on this topic. All right. So, why is leadership development? In your mind, what is leadership development, or how do we develop leaders?
So, leadership development refers to the increasing of capacity of persons to influence others.
Okay.
Fundamentally.
Okay.
Because John Maxwell, when he talks about what leadership is, he says very simply that leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less.
That's right.
Sometimes we tend to think that leaders is just one stereotype. I remember one person who I was trying to convince her that I observed great leadership qualities in her. And she was saying to me that she is not a leader. And she essentially defined leadership as extroversion. And I was saying, wow, that's crazy. Definitely is not what leadership is. You can be an introvert and be a great leader. You can also be an extrovert and being a great leader. Leadership is about influence.
Okay. So in setting that context, why then do you think it's important for national prosperity? And we're going to say in this context, we're specifically speaking of Jamaica. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Why do you think it's important?
So the reason I think leadership development is necessary for national development is because everything rises and falls on leadership. So this is not a John Maxwell idea.
Okay.
Which is that there is no thing that happens void of great leadership. There is no building that is built. There is no great accomplishment that is achieved. There is no feat of excellence achieved at any grand scale without effective leadership. Effective leadership is the central and undeniable force behind great achievement at every point and in every field. So if there is a plumbing enterprise that somehow grows to be some extraordinary multinational plumbing activity, you think it's because the person is just a great plumber? No. It's also because they're a great leader. So if you think about business development, you think about government, you think about of course, which is essentially private and public sector. You think about anything, even the university. There is no thing that happens without great leadership. And so an investment in the leadership potential and ability of the people is one of the greatest things that would give a return on investment, because they're going to take those leadership gems and they're going to start not $1 million companies, they're going to start $1 billion companies. They're going to leave and they're going to be able to take the constituencies for which they lead and uplift them. You're going to see roads start get fixed because we really don't seem to appreciate that when you lift the leadership lid, you lift the nation. So
I want you complete your thought.
No, that was
All right.
a thought.
I want you to unpack it for a little bit because you said it rises and falls. Let's make a direct connection now in terms of what pertains currently in Jamaica. Now, for you, obviously, you're basically alluding to the fact that there then is a gap.
Yes.
Okay. So how then can that gap be filled to ensure that we have the effective leaders, as you alluded to, and that things improve on a national level specifically, then leading us, well, I have to be careful when we said the path to prosperity, but for those of you Jamaicans, you don't understand that. But, right. So how then can we fill that gap and fix that, and then so that we're heading in that quote unquote right direction?
So the gap which I'm most passionate about filling is the gap in youth leadership.
Okay.
Which is that young people have a certain innovative thought process that they bring to things. They just come to a thing and just look at it and say, oh, why we don't do it that way? Mm-hmm. And older persons with experience that can talk about all the ways that it can't work, they don't see those possibilities. But when you take the innovation of a young mind and you add to their formidability one's ability to lead, especially some degree of transformational and visionary leadership, I think that equipping the younger demographic of our society to say, I don't have to wait until I'm 40. I can start that business now. I don't have to wait until I'm 57. I can go for the levels of leadership which I aspire to now. So it's giving them the keys, and the greatest gift that I think you can give to a person is, besides a relationship with Jesus Christ, and besides a knowledge of their God-given purpose, is a degree of self-belief. Because if you do, nobody's going to believe in yourself for you, really. And you have to believe in yourself enough to put it out there. Because, I mean, I'm trying to find a perfect analogy. If you think about Steve Jobs and Apple, they decided to make the iPhone. Great idea. We want to make a new phone. It's going to revolutionize the computer industry. We're going to make it touchscreen. If they didn't have that, if they didn't believe that it was possible, not only was it possible, but possible by us, they'd have never done it.
True.
So if we leave this process of leadership development with you believing a little more in yourself, I think we've started.
Who is the we?
So what I'm talking about, we have put together this platform called the Leadership Hub. And we started it at NCU. Okay. I was very surprised. I just sent out an email like, hi guys, if you want to be a leader, join. And it's like 130 people just joined like the same day. And we started on this process of leadership development. And I've called together a couple of my collegiates around this idea. Okay. So we have the second vice president for Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students, Deshaun Coke. We have the president for the Jewish Students Guild, Omalora Wilson. We have the president, immediate past president for the UTech Students Guild, Tavoy Barrett. Okay. We have Daniel Jordan Bailey, the president, National Secondary Students Council. We have Sabrina Barnes from the Carteret College. She's the president of the Student Council there. We have Giovanni Baker from my team, shared by McDermott, Tyrese Edmond, and we have a group of us that we've said we want to make a national leadership development program called the Leadership Hub.
Okay. That's where we're going to pause the conversation right this minute, and we're going to just take a break and get a word from our partners. We'll be right back.
Making it last is all I came to do. loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives.
Langdo Language Institute was created to meet your language and communication needs. All of our packages were created just for you. We are passionate about language and dedicated to your success. We offer the CSEC English program, the Study Buddy program, the Get Ahead with English program, and the Business Communication program. Contact us at 767-285-0938 or email us at landolanguage@gmail.com, because the real question is, how can we help you?
Photography is an art, but more so, photography must come from the heart. Precious moments, priceless times. Take a pic and know it will turn out fine.
BMC Photography JA. Beautiful moments captured. Let's go.
You can't live your best life without a healthy immune system. Boost your immune system the delicious way with Zappy's organic juices and punches. Made from local produce with zero added sugar, our juices cleanse and revitalize your body as they boost your natural immunity. Try our delicious flavors: Beat It, Berry Bomb, Get Fresh, Ton Up, and Island Splash. Find us on Instagram at Zappy's Organics, or call or send a WhatsApp message at 1-876-779-8910 to order today. That's 1-876-779-8910. Zappy's Organic Juices and Punches. Live your best life today.
Making you last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives.
So, just before we took that break, we were talking about the whole idea of a leadership hub. So, tell us a little bit more about that, because that is supposed to be one of the ways of trying to fill this gap that we alluded to earlier. So, tell us a little bit more about this leadership hub.
So, as the name suggests, the leadership hub is about a coming together of leaders and potential leaders, not just people who have been made, because that's not what it's about. It's about building leaders. So what we want to create is a national framework of support, a community where persons can learn together, where persons can bounce ideas from off each other, where the main idea is to provide a network of relationships between the persons who are going to occupy great positions of leadership tomorrow, and also those who are pursuing great, meaningful visions today.
So, for somebody who's interested in this, how and where do they find this? And also, is this primarily geared towards people who are in the formal school system? Because I noticed you mentioned somebody, I think, at UE, you mentioned a young lady here in the Cartridge. What about somebody who is at the community level, not necessarily going to school right now, but in some form of leadership? Is this something that they can also tap into?
Yes, the Leadership Hub is for them. Okay. And I should give credit to Daniel Jordan Bailey. When we were talking about the core concept of it, one of the things that she noted is that she's tired of, all these leadership things with persons that only look like her, persons that only come from her background. Okay. And it really doesn't provide a genuine representation of the population. So what we want to try and do is that we want to make this as inclusive a group as possible, as diverse an experience background coming to bear on it. People from the rural areas, people who never got school yet. But the main idea is that we want to take persons and transform them into leaders.
So how can
Very
people find out about this or get additional information?
So the first right now is that you can follow my Instagram page, Giovanni David Brown on Instagram. You can also follow me on TikTok because that's where I'm going to be posting on it because we don't have an official page yet.
Spell the Giovanni because there are different spellings.
Yeah.
Right. So
That's
they know exactly
GIO
how to find you.
VANNI David Brown.
Okay. As we're wrapping up, Giovanni, I'm just gonna.
There's something I should touch on.
All right, go right.
Because you asked, we need to answer the question, how do we actually plan to develop the leaders?
Okay.
And that speaks to our leadership development model, which is lead, learn, mentorship, and networking.
Okay.
So the model is essentially, you take a bunch of persons, you have this framework, you put them through it, and they come out on the other side as better leaders or as improved leaders. So the 4 things that we believe are necessary in the process of leadership development. The first is to do something, lead. So in the USM, we have over 100 positions, but also in these other organizations, you have other hundreds of leadership opportunities that people can take up, in addition to ones that they create themselves. But the best way to learn to lead is to lead. So we don't want to make it a theoretical framework without any practical application. So we want persons to lead things. The second is that we believe that leaders are to be lifelong learners. So at first it was read, and then Deshaun Cork from the Jute said, pointed out that really the idea is not really reading. The idea is a thirst for knowledge. The idea is learning and lifelong learning at that. So we want to create an environment where persons are talking about things like, I read a book, and nobody's looking at them like, read book, on TikTok and that kind of a thing. We want to create not professional, but an environment where persons recognize that learning is not optional, really, if you want to become a person of value. You have to constantly be learning. So learning, and we do that through our at this point it's weekly discussions in our forum group. We send John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Nice. We might be going through Good to Great. We're going to be going through a whole lot of leadership material. And the next one is mentorship. Now, the way we plan to pursue the mentorship right now is through our Leadership Hub conferences. So we want to have these bi-monthly conferences where we feature prominent Jamaican leaders who the persons themselves would like to model. So if you want to come there and you want to be the Prime Minister, we want to bring the Prime Minister. You want to be a billionaire, we want to bring Michael Ditchin. So we want to bring the persons who persons would like to be so that they can get the first-hand, highest, efficacy, knowledge relating to their goals and ambitions.
Commendations.
Is networking, which is them bouncing off each other and being inspired by the explosion of leadership potential that is around them. Because when you're around people that are going somewhere, you really can't help but just find yourself going somewhere as well. So
as we're wrapping up, I'm gonna ask a question, and as the answer comes, don't think it has to come out a particular way.
Okay.
Just respond.
I have that tendency.
All right? Yeah. So, and the question is, why is leadership development important for national prosperity?
Because there is no prosperity without interesting things happening. There is no prosperity in America if there is no Apple, if there is no Amazon, if there is no Facebook, if there is no Google, if there is no Instagram. If persons are not pursuing visionary ideas, then prosperity is not optional for you folks. So if we want to allow people to pursue them and give them the essential tools, leadership, in my view, is the greatest key that we could give to the population to result in national prosperity.
The thought came to my mind, the line, out of the mouths of babes, but he's definitely not. He's definitely not a babe.
Thank you.
So I'm going to just tweak that slightly. but definitely out of a promising young leader. This was Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for